You could buy a Pro and upgrade to the PS5 3 days later. It's your decision. Well, that's not exactly 3 days, but close enough. So, I bought a PlayStation 5 in 2025. Should you do too, or buy something else? This question and many more will be answered in this video, so stay tuned. The PS5 released in November 2020, which makes it 5 years old this November. Do you feel old yet? I certainly do. It still feels like yesterday when the PS4 was the hottest new console, but I'm drifting away. The PS5 featured a new redesign completely different from every other PlayStation before. All SSD storage, and for the first time, a all-digital console, which looks way more, shall we say, intentional than the disc version, where it looks like someone stapled a Blu-ray drive on the thing. And the biggest innovation which Sony developed was scalping problems. Scalpers are people who buy many consoles with no intent of playing, but reselling for a profit. And I would like to say these are the scum of the earth, but there has been some very bad people on earth like Walter White. Yeah, for the first 2 years after the PS5 released, no one was able to get one at an affordable price. The price also was the third highest of any PlayStation model ever, only beaten by the PS3 and a certain revision of the PS5, from which there are two of. One being the PS5 Slim, released in 2023. It featured a new, slimmer design, which, if there was a console that needed a slim model, it was this one. A removable Blu-ray drive, and by that I don't mean you bought the disc version and you can replace the disc drive. But no, if you bought the digital only version, you can buy the disc drive afterwards, and voila, it's like you had the disc version all along. This wasn't possible on either the OG PS5 or the OG PS5 digital. Once you bought a disc model, it had a disc drive, and once you had a digital one, it's gonna stay that way. The Slim also included a storage upgrade from 850 gigs to 1 terabyte, which is really handy for those digital models. Also worth mentioning is Sony downgraded the stand from this cleverly designed stand to these pieces of scrap. Good luck finding a PS5 Slim with those still included, because otherwise your PS5 is gonna lay like this. Lastly, there's the laughing stock of the entire PlayStation family, the PS5 Pro, a console where even in the trailer you couldn't tell apart the original and the Pro, and that comes with a starting price of $699. I hope I misread that. Nope, it's actually $700 for the version without a disc drive. So in addition to the $700, you have to buy a disc drive for $100. Well, so that's $800. This is the most expensive PlayStation ever made. No PlayStation was as expensive as this thing. There were also minor revisions for the OG model, but most eBay sellers won't say in the description what model number it is, so it's basically useless information, but if you're curious, here's a quick breakdown. CFI 10 series, it's slightly cooler, it's the heaviest model. CFI 11 series, it's lighter, it has a more efficient fan. The CFI 12, it's the lightest out of them all. It has the lowest power consumption and is the quietest. But what is a new console without a new controller? Well, the PS5 doesn't disappoint with the brand new DualSense, sorry, they changed the name. The DualSense is the biggest PlayStation controller upgrade ever since its inception. And in my opinion, the best first-party controller on any console, with its brand new set of features which include HD Rumble, a way better haptics in game, a mic so no headset is needed to talk to your friends, a way more ergonomic design, kinda inspired by Xbox, and USB-C finally. And the headlining feature, adaptive triggers, which adjusts the triggers based on the action in game. Speaking of which, What are games on the PS5? What exclusive does it have? iRobot and Astro's Playroom. These are the two only games you can play on any other console other than the PS5. That's mildly disappointing, but otherwise, what can it play that isn't exclusive? I think the better question is, what can't it play? You can play the entire PS4 catalog natively, and some older PS4 games have this little sticker on the back saying PS5 upgrade available. And you want to know the best part? Most of these are free. Yeah, suck on that, Nintendo. I will get to that part. I'll destroy the Switch too, just wait a second. That is actually a really pro-consumer thing, if I'm being honest. It also is worth mentioning that you can even play Xbox games on the PS5. Isn't that amazing? Imagine telling that to someone during the PS3 and Xbox 360 era. As for the performance, the PS5 handles most games like a champ, with quick loading times, rare frame drops, 4K resolution. What more do you want? With all that in mind, what is its competition? First up, the Switch 2. Do you want a hulking piece of garbage run by corporate greed? Do you want to pay $90 for Mario Kart or pay $100 for Joy-Cons, which will catch drift in 2 to 3 months? If you answered yes to all of these, congratulations, you are a Switch 2 owner. Okay, but seriously, I can't get over how greedy this whole system is. Why is everything so marked up beyond belief? For example, the game that teaches you the mechanics and what's new in the Switch 2 costs $10. And from the reviews, it seems like it's reading a school textbook instead of a game. Whereas on the PS5, you have Astro's Playroom, a fantastic 3D platformer with stunning visuals for a tutorial and for the console itself. The best part? It's free on literally every PS5 console. Or the Playroom, which released on PS4, not as good as Astro's Playroom, and it does require the camera, but it's free. Same with the VR Playroom, which you got for free if you bought a PSVR. And to put Nintendo to shame even more, remember Wii Sports? The perfect gateway drug for grandma to become a gamer. Remember PictoChat? Free local communicating with your friends. Remember the Mi Plaza AR games and Face Raiders on the 3DS? Or Nintendo Land on the Wii U? Those were actually great and free. Or how about something simple like connecting the PS5 to a television? I grab a random HDMI cable from my closet, plug it into power and press the power button. Bob's your uncle. What about the OG Switch? Grab a random HDMI cable, a AC adapter which can handle the Switch, and any random USB-C to HDMI adapter. What about the Switch 2? Firstly, you need the official dock, otherwise it won't work. And how much is the dock? $125. And then, as before, the AC adapter and a high-speed HDMI cable. For storage expansions, what will both accept? So the PS5 uses PCIe Gen 4 SSDs, which have been available for cheap since 2023. Seriously, I bought a cheap 500 gig NV2 from Kingston that cost me $30. For the Switch 2, a new weird microSD standard called microSD Express has emerged, where one 28GB model costs $50. Nice, isn't it? Paying more for less. And as before mentioned, upgrades for the Switch 2 versions can cost $10 to $20. Which, don't get me wrong, the PS5 has a few games that have that too. Spiderman Remastered, but there's only $10, which is a bit more reasonable. You can still opt out of paying the $10, still get the faster loading times and PS4 Pro level graphics, which aren't that far off of the PS5 graphics, whereas on the Switch 2 you have to pay to unlock from 30 FPS and get Google Maps in Tears of the Kingdom, as if Google Maps couldn't get more obnoxious in the real world already. Next up, for the competition of the PS5, is the Xbox Series S and X, which are genuine competitors, unlike that. To start off, even the Series S has at least 512 GB of SSD storage, and the Xbox Series X can go up to 2 TB, and the prices on the hardware and games side are totally fair, especially on the second-hand market, where Series S can cost $200 to $300. This is insane! PS5 level graphics while paying half, although it does have lower storage and no disk drive. For the Series X you can get a used one for $300 to $400, which is equally as great, as it does have the same storage as the PS5 and the disk drive, and it is even more powerful. But there are two issues with the Xbox. First off being literally no exclusives. I couldn't find them. Everything that Xbox publishes is also available on PC and in some cases even on PlayStation, the Switch 1 and this disgrace. And storage expansion, where you have to pay up a bit more to get an official Microsoft expansion card, which is, as it's first party, you have to pay up a decent bit more. Otherwise a great console, and honestly it has the cheapest controller out of all the current gen consoles. And as the semi-final contender, the PS4. But I already did a video on that, so as to not repeat myself here, I'll shorten it. Available models are the PS4, PS4 Slim and the PS4 Pro. Prices range from $60 to $170. Great, but you will feel it's a bit of an older console. The perk is that if you want to upgrade to a PS5, your whole game library can be used on the PS5, and even the controller if you use the PS4 version of a game. Lastly, the PC. At the price point of $400 to $500, you can get a great second-hand PC and kinda leave behind the whole garbage by Sony and Microsoft. For example, you don't have to pay to play multiplayer, you can play games from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and there's mostly no need to port or wait for a remaster, which is in most cases not the same game, looking at you Need for Speed Most Wanted. You can also choose your storefront, whether it's itch.io, Steam or even the dreaded Epic Games launcher. You can choose, but there's one major caveat. Yeah, the target audience for consoles is not quite the same as for PCs, and it needs some getting used to. And some people don't like playing on PC in general, so for those people this may not be the best choice. What to pick? So let's break down what to buy and when. The PS5. Once dirt cheap, expandable storage, has the DualSense controller, you had a PS4 beforehand, and you like Astro's Playroom. The Switch 2.
No.
Xbox Series S or X. You're on a tighter budget, you don't care about exclusives, you don't need expandable storage, you are someone who doesn't want to sell the leg for a new controller. PS4. You don't need the shiny new thing, or you want to have a bit of fun while saving up for the PS5. They are really cheap and they have cheap expandable storage, you're on a really tight budget, and you like the Playroom, which you can play on the PS5. PC. You want free multiplayer, choice, from the storefront to the hardware to the accessories. You can handle Linux or Windows, and you play decade-old games. Since you clicked on this video, you probably want to know, if I get a PS5, which one? Here's a quick breakdown. Buy original PS5 with the disk drive on eBay for the cheapest option. If you want to have a new one, buy a digital one, a PS5 Slim, and later, once you saved up enough, buy yourself a disk drive. The PS5 Pro makes little to no sense, as the quality between the original and the Pro is not that far off, but the price definitely is. So this is the PS5 still worth it? Sorry if I went off on a long rant for the Switch 2, but I genuinely hate this console. But otherwise, I hope I could entertain you all out there. If you like this video, please leave a like below, subscribe, and if you have any idea for a future console, leave a comment down below. And with that, I will see you all later.